Hey there everybody, if this is the first time you've been on my channel, thank you for watching this video. My name is Tristan Gibson. I'm a daily vlogger, photographer, videographer, but my main focus from now on is going to be into photography. So if that's something that you're into, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if that's what you're into, and sit back and enjoy the ride. This is my first screen recording video about photography and how I do edits. I hope you guys can take some stuff away from this and enjoy what you're about to watch. And if you have any comments or concerns of how I do things, or you have recommendations of how I do things, or if you learned something, leave a comment below and let me know what you learned or questions that you have. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoy the video. Hey guys, what's going on? I hope you're all doing really well today. So this is something new that I want to do for the YouTube channel. Since I'm doing more photography on my Instagram, I think I'm going to take my YouTube channel and throw it more into photography as well. And big reason why is because I'm finding a lot more passion in the whole photography game, really, and I want to kind of teach what I know as well as explore things that I don't know and even share it with you guys. And right now it's going to be photography and videography both, but seeing how my computer isn't the best to keep up with both videography and screen recording at the same time, I'm not going to be going that route. I'm going to keep it towards photography. Nasty habit. So I edited some photos today, and I'm going to take a look at some other ones I've got going on here. The one you're seeing right now is one that I've been working on. I'm going to show you the before and after and kind of what I've done to get that point. So here's before, and this is the after. I'm going with more of a fall vibe, but the grass isn't dead like it normally dies in the winter. So I tried to figure out a way to clean it up a little bit. So I used a graduated radial gradient mask, and I dragged it out to get to about the depth of the grass here. And then I went down and I took the hue to 49.4. So you can see how that brought some life back into it, and it actually looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to leave it there, and then I'm going to go ahead and take another one and drag it over here, and you can just see that life come back into there quite a bit, and that's a pretty realistic color to start with actually, so I might keep it there. The toughest part I had is because there's some grass back here on behind the motorcycle, and you can actually see some blue tint where something's happening there. I'm not too big a fan of that, so I might go in and I'm going to hit enter so those filters are by themselves. I'm going to drag another gradient. You can see the green there already. I'm going to take that down here. It already canceled out, but now it looks a little purple. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust the hue. I'm going to come down here, and unfortunately there isn't a specific way to be able to adjust the hue by the color itself. So I'm going to maybe take the tint, since it looks a bit blue, I'm going to drag it to the right. No, that's not it either. So that just makes it the color of the grass in the background, because you can see there. And unfortunately, I couldn't make an excuse to like maybe say that there are pine needles there, and the pine needles are already kind of that color, and that just wouldn't work out well. And if I have to, so during this I might have to change my phone because it handles screen recording and editing a lot easier, a lot better. So if that's the case, I'll just go ahead and do that. I'm going to delete that there. And I think it's because I've got a lot of the blues popping, specifically right here on the motorcycle. So I'm going to drag back the blues a little bit. You can see right under hue. Actually, the blues are -4. Luminance. I've got aqua popped up to 56. I'm going to bring that back down. And you can see the difference in the glow there, especially back here in the parking spots. I'll take that back to 0. And this seemed to have fixed up the glow a little bit, but the blue is still back there. So I'm going to take under hue, maybe under saturate, I'm going to take some of this green and throw it back in. See if that does anything here. No, not really. It did bring some of the green back out in the bushes. If you zoom back out, you can't really tell it. That is pretty noticeable still. That's one of the parts I like about photography is you alter one thing, but then something else changes, and you have to find a way to make that more natural looking. Maybe if I take a radial gradient, here, drag it up, drag it right, drag it down, then bring it down here. If I can desaturate it and bring that back to a normal color, there it goes. That does look good there. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag this down some more, and I'm gonna drag it back because I don't want to desaturate the motorcycle itself. I'm gonna go ahead and make a new one, a new filter here, or new. That's just gonna desaturate that altogether, and I don't want to desaturate the lane, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. You can see that red spot left there from where it shows where it's affected. I think that looks pretty good right there. Again, I wish I could do something with the grass back here without affecting everything. You can see that's just sucking the life out of it. So I'm going to bring the saturation back to normal. And I'm going to take this all the way up to 43 point, what was it? It's like 48.7. You can see that color coming back in here. Now if you notice right here on, started pointing at my screen, on the back end of the motorcycle where the trunk is, or a little compartment, it's making a very slight change to the paint. And it's not very noticeable, but I don't know what it's gonna do as I go ahead and drag this out. Considering it's starting to take up a good chunk of the bike now. I don't think that's noticeable. You guys leave your comments and tell me what you think. Go ahead and drag this. I think the life is coming back there pretty nicely. I'll go ahead and drag this here, bring it down a little bit, back. Go ahead and invert. I'm going to show you what it would look like if I just inverted it. You can see all that green come in. This is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more fall, since the leaves are starting to change a little bit. In this little pathway here, that's mostly dead grass anyway, from what I can notice. But it still looks fake. It doesn't look good. Which is why I had everything tuned into what that color is. Also, I'm using Peter McKinnon's LUT pack, and right now I'm using O'Hara. So just to scroll through, you can see what these would look like under different circumstances. Moraine, Dark Luis, Genesis Black and White, which I think that looks pretty good. But the reflections are gone on the bike, so I'm not really too big fan of that. I like the reflections. I actually like that one a lot for this one. I'm very surprised my computer is able to keep up right now. This is a pretty heavy workload for it. I'm currently using a 2012 MacBook Air with an i5 processor, so it's definitely not the greatest quality for what we're going for what you should be editing with in today's age, but it keeps up with the simple tasks I have it do. Some editing, nothing too heavy because the rendering times are outrageous, especially for video. But if you're using something better, whether it's PC or Mac, let me know in the comments below. I greatly appreciate any recommendations. Or if you want to sell your PC, or if you want to sell your MacBook Pro or whatever, I'm getting ready to be separated from the Marine Corps medically, so I'll be able to have a little bit of money saved up for that. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate and see what this does. Yeah, no. I'm gonna make another mask over here because this is the same patch of grass right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag. Pull that there. Get into 43 point, I think it was 48.3. You can see that just turned that bike more blue in the front. I don't want that. So I think I might do here, I'm going to go ahead and X that out, delete that. I'm going to go ahead and do a brush. Here, I'm going to zoom in. Ooh. Decrease that brush size quite a bit here. And I would say very lightly, but I don't really have any control over how much pressure I put on the trackpad. It's not one of those newer ones. I'll go ahead and take that and just do the outline like you just saw here. I'm going to continue to brush right along the edges and then working my way to the inside. I'm going to come down and I'm going to take the hue tool. I'm going to drag that to 48 point, come on, 3. I'm going to increase the saturation a little bit to see where we're at. It's not quite heavy enough. So I'm going to increase the flow and see what this does. I've never actually used this tool before. There we go. That's nice. Decrease the brush size so I get up closer to that bike. You can see the color coming back in there very nicely. Just a bit. Here in a second, I'm thinking about, you can see the color of the bushes back. Ooh, let me go back to primary edit mode. You can see the color of the bushes back here. They're a bit darker with a little shade of blue in here. So I think I might try and take this. If I could colorize and darken it down. to about, I think that looks good there. So whatever that would be at. Do the same for this one. The colorize. Now that does not, well, that's just the, that's about right there. And then back here, there are some, this is a shaded spot, so I think the darker tones really work that area pretty well. And honestly, back here, there's under a street light. That street light was on at that moment. So even though it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, street light was on for whatever reason. And I like the way that looks. It looks very good. Although I think if there were some more leaves on the ground, which there's one right here, it looks like. Oop. I like the way that looks. I think that looks nice. I think I'm okay with that. Yeah. Now I'm going to crop it down to the size that I would like for Instagram formatting, which is 4:3. I'm going to drag this up a bit. And I'm also going to zoom if I can. That's already pretty straight too, so I'm going to go ahead and save it like that. And for the motorcycle, what I've done for the motorcycle is just the motorcycle by itself. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and switch it back to pre-edits before I did anything. The motorcycle's pretty, I mean, it's got some sharp detail too. You can see the clouds here. You can see the chrome in the motorcycle handle. But I like to have a little bit sharper. So what I've done so far is I've actually gone in and sharpened up the headlights a bit, mainly just the most of the motorcycle to begin with, and also the rider's face, the helmet, to get some more detail in there, to get those lights showing a little bit more, or those reflections, which you can see right here. I'm not entirely sure what they say. I didn't really look for that, but I have not yet touched up on the chrome or anything like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw a mask here. I'm going to widen it out some. I'm going to rotate it to get to be able to fit that. You can see how it fits nicely. I'm also going to make it a bit taller and drag it up so we can get the entirety or most of the handlebar in there. And now just to do this, I don't do anything real special. I don't crank the clarity up outrageous amounts. All I really do is this. All I do is crank the clarity to maybe 20, 25, sometimes 30 or 35 at the most. And you can see how much of a difference I already made. It's rendering here for a second. I'm going to go ahead and click OK on that, and look at that. Now my computer's not the best for being able to pick up images or the detail intricacies of all of this stuff. I'm going to do the same right here. I'm going to do it on the what's it called? Suspension. Drag it down. Make it a little bit taller. And rotate. Drag it down a little bit more. Make sure you can get all of that in there. And increase the clarity just a little bit. 25 will do. And again, for this guy right here. For the highway peg right there. The highway footrest. And you can already see, I'm going to go ahead and invert it so you can see what the difference would be. So that's with everything else besides those 2 points with clarity on. And that's with clarity on those 2 points, as well as the helmet. His face. And the headlights. I think that looks pretty good compared to what it was before. Take another look. Before and after. I think that really pops. I think that looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and export this. AirDrop it to my phone. I hope you guys are liking this. This is the first time I've done this. I really like this. Kind of shows you like what I'm thinking about when I'm going through edits. And if you guys have stuff like this you've done before, definitely send it to me. Because I want to see what you guys are thinking as well. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom out here a little bit. I want to see what you guys are thinking as well. It's good to see what other people do whenever they are putting an image together and seeing their style, because everybody's got their own eye. People say no one will buy the images that I take or the pictures that I edit. Yes, they will, because they don't pay for just the images, they pay for your style. And I've come to learn that. I started shooting photography professionally before I was in the Marine Corps. I was running a marketing agency at that point, and this is something that I just did as an extra service for like restaurants and car dealerships and auto detailing dealerships. They always have really good pictures to be taken. And I learned that people don't pay for just a picture, they pay for your style, your eye. What are you able to do? What do you look to edit? What are you good at, right? So that picture is exported. I'm not gonna actually, yeah, I will AirDrop that to my phone real quick. My computer's really starting to lag out, so I might switch to my phone here in a minute. You can see some of the other pictures I've edited. My buddy Mayala. One I've done. I like that one a lot, actually. Somebody special to me. That's a good one. I actually did that one last night. Did this one today. And there it is. Share. AirDrop. I'm gonna you're gonna laugh when I tell you this. This is something I started doing when I started doing a little bit more editing on my computer, just to kind of keep it cool. I bought some steamed vegetables and I freeze them, and I put them under my computer to help keep it cool. It sounds ridiculous, but it works it works well. I like it. The only difference is balance now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and look through these some more. I'm gonna show you a cat that I got pictures of today, because I named him Sebastian. He's a super sweet cat, feral cat, but I think he had a home at one point, but he was really friendly. He loved to play with some leaves. Kind of show you a picture where that's the case. There he is. He was talking in this one. Sweet little guy. Pretty sure that this is his mom, and I think that's him right there. And then there's a brother or sister back here in the background. Find one that I edited of him. I'll just kind of take you through the edits for that one. There it is. So for this one, I thought it was pretty simple. I don't like to mess with the colors of animals too much. If anything, I actually like to brighten them up a little bit, bring more saturation back into their face, into their eyes, which I've done here. All I did for this one was I used Peter McKinnon's preset called... I don't even think I used a preset, to be honest with you. It's not showing up. I don't think I did. Oh, wait. There it is. I don't think I used a preset for this one. So, what actually this says, I don't do much work with the color curves or point curve right here that often, but when I do, it's basically just bringing up the blacks to flatten them out, turn them into more of a matte black. But for this one, I can't find the preset that I use, but I can tell you what I did do. So for the cat itself, I thought it was a great picture. He's about to go for that leaf. He's gonna grab that. His claws are already starting to pop out a little bit right here. His eyes are just fixated on. I thought that was a really good picture. All I did was honestly I decreased the highlights. As you can see here, it's back down to 9. I'm gonna bring it up to 3. Not a big jump in color, but it does make a nice difference. I increased the contrast to bring that color out a little bit and to darken him up a little bit as well. I didn't do anything with the exposure because it was pretty well shot. Plus the highlights I already took care of them with exposure as well as the whites. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z for that, -77. And then for the eyes were one of my favorite parts to work with. For the eyes, all I did, I don't want to actually do it, but I took I took a brush and I came in to the eyes and I just masked very lightly to help increase, and then I increased the contrast to bring some of those browns back into his eye, and I increased the exposure just slightly to bring that kind of a glimmer, to bring that shine in there, and it turned out really well. I'm going to take you guys through another edit that I did real quick. This one I definitely used a lot on. So this is the before. Actually, I'm going to show you the before of Sebastian real quick. So that's the before, and that's the after. I'm going to hit presets real quick. See if anything shows up here. After. And now for this one, I like military trucks. They look cool. They're rugged as hell. You can take them through a lot of different environments, and they handle amazingly. Also, when you get moodier pictures like this, they're aesthetically pleasing. They look amazing. So I did use a LUT for this. I don't remember which one. They were Peter McKinnon, another Peter McKinnon LUT. I love his LUTs. They were, or not LUTs, presets. I've been saying LUT this entire time. His presets, they work really well. It's kind of a way to take somebody else's eye for a picture and turn it into something your own, like your own. So it's not necessarily stealing the property. You buy the preset, you can use it as free as you want. But taking the preset and doing nothing else with it, just slapping it on there, that's kind of it's kind of cheap. I find it's a little cheap. What you can do, what I do, is I take the preset, I slap it on there, I do the edits that I think it needs to get it to the way I want it to look. So what I did do here, I didn't do much. I did decrease the highlights. You can see if you increase the highlights, you get a lot of that white back around the truck. I'm gonna take it back down to -85. Back 5. I increased the contrast just slightly. Back down at 0. It's kind of flat. You don't have that much color pop. So I'm gonna take it back to 11. The exposure, I brought it down just a hair to -15. Goes back out at 0. You get some of that brightness back. And I want this to be more of a moodier photo. The blacks I did nothing really with. Doesn't really give much of a difference. I'm going to take this back down to 5. -5. And I already talked about the whites. Now, with the color curves, I love working with the color curves when I'm working with darker, moodier photos because, as you guys can see here, if you work with it all the way back down, it's basically a straight line here. You have a lot of detail in the blacks. You're not really blown out. You can do a lot here, but if you bring it up, you can see those blacks start to become kind of faded. That faded matte look, which I love that look. So I'm gonna bring it back down. Oh, the blacks came back up. Bring them back down, -5. And this is a 0, 10.2. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the point curve off. That's what it looks like without the point curve, without the RGB alterations you can see here. This is definitely a lot. I don't know this advanced yet. I said LUT again. This is definitely a preset. I don't know this advanced of editing styles yet. But I just love the way that looks. And you can roll through here and just see real easily how something would look. So that's dawn, dusk. Dusk looks pretty cool. You can also see that there's a pretty heavy black, flat black, or they crushed the blacks basically. Element. That's too folly for me. I'm looking for something more like apocalyptic here. Go ahead and find another photo. My buddy Owens, he's leaving on Tuesday. He's in the schoolhouse here on the base that I'm at. I was in his platoon for a while. This is something I started working on. I'm not too big a fan of this preset for this picture specifically. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose a different preset and then edit through it with you. Moraine's pretty cool. Kind of gives that warm down home vibe. Louise, that's the same one I used here. Actually, it's not Louise. That's, I think it's North. I just crushed the whites on that one. Wolf's Wood. I like that one. My computer's cooled down because of those steamed peas. I love that. Okay. I used the orange summer vibe before, but we are definitely in the fall now, so I'm going to be using blue shadows. No. Pirate Life? That looks pretty good. I like that. So for this, his eyes are crushed. His eyes are really black. You don't have much detail in them right now. If you zoom in here, you can see that you can pull a lot of detail back out of his eyes, his eyebrows. I think the main focal point for this one is him drinking whatever he's drinking from Subway. But I do want his eyes to be brighter. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start by increasing the shadows. You can see the difference there in his face. That's too much actually. I'm going to increase the blacks. No, that's not it either. Sometimes you have to test and see what you can do. I'm gonna do a matte. I'm gonna do a mask around his eye here. And I'm gonna bring it there, decrease it, or make it smaller. There you go. I'm going to increase the shadows. Looks like someone missed a haircut piece right there for a little bit. I'm gonna come back to here. I'm gonna mess with the contrast a little bit. Pro tip, if you mess with the contrast, don't do it by much, because adjusting the contrast and making it brighter, like here it's 11, you can't really tell the difference, but if you bring it all the way up to 43 or 82 or even 100, it's gonna make that detail in the blacks a lot more robust. It's gonna darken your photo quite a bit. So I'm just gonna bring it up to, say, 18. I'm gonna increase the exposure just a little bit, and I'm gonna decrease the whites. I'm not a big fan of how that looks. I'm gonna do the whites back. I'm gonna decrease the highlights and decrease the shadows. So you have a good jawline here. His ears looks like almost the same color as the straw. I'm not too big a fan of that. So I'm going to come down to the hue, and I'm gonna play with the red for a second, see what I can do here. So if you pull the hue to the right, it turns everything orange, which orange is a more natural color to skin than red, unless you're under certain circumstances, you're really hot, you're with somebody and things are getting going, your ears get red, whatever. But I'm not trying to turn his ears like bright red, like what you can see the straws, and his ears leaning that way too. So I'm going to hit Command Z, bring that back. I'm going to do a couple masks here. I'm going to make the straw a natural red for what it is. Ooh. Ah, my light just died, guys. Dang. Just bear with me. I'm gonna finish up this photo and that'll be it. Yeah, I know you died. That's a good shade of red there. And that way, his ears are more of a natural orange or reddish tint, not entirely red. It just looks a lot better, and I like this picture just the way it sits. Not that many things that need to be done. Just increase the brightness, increase the shadows in his eyes to bring them back out a little bit, and change the straw color, and that's really it. I'm gonna do something with his ears real quick, just to get a just a little bit more natural color back in there, just a little bit. Go ahead and rotate that a little, and decrease the size because his ears aren't an elephant. There's actually not much we can do with that because it just changes the color strongly. What we can do though, decrease the saturation a little bit. We don't want to turn his ear gray like that. We just want to bring the color out. Like if you jack it up here, it turns it way too orange. If you bring it back down, it turns it gray. We want to find a good point where it looks most natural. So 0, we're going to look like that. That's a little too orange for my liking. Bring it down to about -8. I think will look good. And then on the focal point here, what we can do is bring some clarity into that point. You don't want to do it too much because then it looks ridiculous. You just do it very little bit. I think 14 looks good. Let's take a look at what it looked like before. Let's zoom in a little bit too. So that's just normal there. Bring the clarity up just a little bit, 15. and bring it back out. I think that looks really good there. The shadows, I'm looking around the picture, I think the shadows are a bit dark, so I'm gonna bring the shadows up a little bit, just in general. Nothing too much. I think that's it right there. That's a good picture. I like the way that turned out. Wow, this is really dark. Give me just a second. I apologize that just got incredibly grainy and rather out of focus. I'm gonna switch to manual real quick. There we go. That's gonna be the end of this video. Thank you guys for checking this out. I really appreciate it. I hope you all enjoy this content. If you like this, let me know. My computer actually handled this pretty well, so I think this is gonna be more of a common occurrence on my channel. So that's how I edit videos. That's how I get the pictures that I do. What presets do I use? Those are the presets that I use the most often. I'm looking at making my own in the future. I just need to get more experience with how to manipulate colors and figure out what I want things to look like. But that's how I do it. I hope you all have a good night. Thank you for watching. And if you like this video and you haven't done it already, go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.